Hi, everyone. This is Annalisa with Inside Real Estate, and I am here with Paul Dunn, who is really great at Instagram for our IRE User Spotlight. So, hello, Paul.
Hey, what's happening, Annalisa? Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
This is cool, and I mean your response did sound like a super cool dude, so that's nice. So, you guys are out there in Tucson, and it's you and your wife who partner in the business. Is that right?
Yes, that is absolutely 100% correct.
Okay, and that's darcydunn.com. And I do have your website open here.
Yeah.
So,
Darcy's the
uh,
face of our business, and she just kind of has me along to help her with the marketing and some of the other things that you need to get, that you need to
yeah.
do to keep a business running because I really don't know how a single agent operates all by themselves. That's a tough one.
Well, yeah, it gets to a point where you have to determine if you need to bring on a partner or an assistant or an admin, I think.
Yeah. And so what happened is I'm really good at lead gen for real estate. And
Hmm.
so what happened, boy, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago, is we just sat down and had a conversation, and she thought, why don't I go get a license? And so she got a license. I've been feeding her
Wow.
leads, and it's just been doing really
And took
awesome ever
off.
since.
So it's been just the 3 years you've been doing this.
Yeah, yeah. And I've been, boy, 20 some years in the real estate finance industry. I've owned a wholesale mortgage company, retail mortgage company, all that kind of cool stuff. And finally ended up going over to the dark side and
Mm,
getting that real estate license and helping her out. Oh,
that's
look at that. You found one of my pages.
yeah. I did, yeah. Well, I was just kind of showing people the information that you have out there. I know we've got the website. I know we have the Tucson homes and real estate along with the stories inside Instagram, and the LinkedIn bio will go there to the company. And
Yeah.
then Darcy's Facebook page, which is really interesting. I know we're going to talk a lot about Instagram, but I really like the idea of your services here.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, in speaking to the military relocation professional, because you have that accreditation, I'm guessing, or the
Absolutely. Yeah,
certification. Yeah.
she has that one. She's working on her GRI right now. Yeah, and like I say, she's the face of our business. She's the one that actually talks to people, and I just
Hmm.
go with to be able to drive the car, and she can provide me the directions.
And I'm totally swiping this and sharing it with everybody.
There you
That's
go.
great.
Oh, I love it.
Oh. So let's go ahead and pop back over here and just kind of gab about Instagram. I know that you've had some good success in using it. So when you look back at your 3 years, how has leveraging and really diving into this social media app helped you build your brand?
Well, it's kind of funny that everything kind of went over to Instagram. My youngest son, who is now a senior in high school, about 4 years ago, opened up an Instagram account and very, very quickly got up to about 120,000 followers. And so he
Wow.
actually now sells pink hoodies with his personal logo on his Instagram account. And so he kind of has taught us how to use Instagram. And so what we've done is created our Sell Tucson Instagram account and
Hmm.
based it off of, my direct marketing knowledge, a lot of the internet marketing that I come from, as well as the education that we've received from our tenager. And so what has happened is that has actually turned into pretty much a main source of business for us. We do a lot of Facebook ads. In fact, by the way, I'm going to give props to Ryan for his property boost. Whenever you've got a listing, if you need some leads right away, hit that little button, give Ryan $60, and you'll start getting them.
It is amazing. That core property boost, it takes off like quickly.
It does. It absolutely does. And so that's kind of the real fast background on how we got into the into using Instagram.
Hmm.
And you can see that picture up there that you've got that has my dog up
Yes.
there. One of the
Yes.
first deals that we got out of Instagram was a gal that was moving to Tucson,
Hmm.
and she called up and was talking to Darcy, and she says, this is going to sound kind of funny, but
So she found you on your Instagram page?
yeah, she found us through
Cool.
Instagram.
Okay.
Then she called us up and she just says, this is going to sound a little odd, but we're looking for a home with a pool for our dog.
Oh, that's great.
And so we turned that into a post, and that's where that little picture comes from. And
Yeah.
I did a video ad and put that on Facebook, and that did very well. So, we tell a lot of stories when we're out there doing our advertising.
Oh, I imagine so. I mean, when you look at the vibrancy of the area, that also can lend to that personal feel and community, I would think too.
Absolutely, it absolutely does. And so, it's kind of funny because I wasn't really thinking a whole lot about Instagram until I noticed that my son was, selling pink hoodies on Instagram,
Right.
and uh, and then we were at a ClickFunnels event. And I don't know if I'm sure some of your users know what ClickFunnels is, but
Yes.
Russell Brunson, the founder of ClickFunnels, came out and said, if you are not on Instagram, you are missing the boat. Or
What's the name again?
I can't remember. Russell Brunson.
Brun?
Yeah, Brunson. Yep, something like SON.
I'll look it
And,
up. Yeah.
yeah, and he basically said something along the lines of, if you're not on Instagram, your business is going to suffer in the coming years because that's the future of where social media and website funnels are.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we took that, we ran with it, and we've created some Instagram funnels, and it turns into business. It doesn't happen overnight, obviously, but you
Yeah.
can actually build a fairly decent following fairly quickly. And when we started the Sell Tucson account, and again, we have several accounts out there. That's just the one that is kind of like the money site. And
Yes.
what we found is that we once we hit 800 followers is when we got our first deal. And once we
Okay.
hit 1,000 is when we got our second deal. So it didn't take long at all.
So then another 200 more and you got your second one.
Yeah, pretty much. And what's interesting that we found about Instagram, and we're still learning it. I mean, it's
Hmm.
a fabulous platform. We're pretty darn good at it, but there's a lot of changes that have come up recently, such as the Instagram stories. Now you can have group chats in there, which I think is really, really cool.
Instagram one is amazing.
Yeah, and that's brand new. I think that they only announced that or came out with it maybe 2 weeks ago or something like that. But
Yeah, it's fresh.
and we have not played with it at all. I'm not really exactly sure what that strategy will be, but I know that we will experiment with it for sure. And I know you asked me about pipelines and everything as far as getting deals off of Instagram. You've got to have more than just the ability to start conversations with Instagram.
Hmm.
Instagram is actually a little bit different than your Facebook advertising and any other type of marketing that you're going to do, because it's not really even though it is a mass market, it's not really like your mass marketing or even well, yeah, I would just say mass marketing. It's really more of relationship marketing. And so the folks that are out there that are really good with their SOI, those are the folks that I think can really crush it with Instagram, just to give you an idea.
Yeah, so it's basically like kind of thinking of that mass market as a more close in community because it
Right.
really is online. I mean, like I could talk to my cousins who are in Sweden. Who knew, right?
So,
But it's all
so the,
about that relationship marketing and are you relatable to who's going to pick up this information?
yeah, absolutely. And what we've found, at least what we've kind of put together is pushing people from one Instagram account down into a different Instagram account. And
Oh, whoop.
yeah, and
Oh, good.
so
Good for me for closing that down. There we go.
yeah,
So
there you
one
go.
Instagram. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and that way you've got basically an Instagram type funnel, a sales funnel, because
Right. You're leading them.
yeah, and what we really try to do is be the Zillow in our local Instagram. That's my goal.
Hmm. So
And
really, it's kind of like taking them down the statuses like of like a prospect, new lead, active lead, but you're doing that at the Instagram level too.
yeah, which is kind of funny that you think about it because you're going to those people who have no idea who you are to turning them into followers, and then turning them into active followers,
Right, right,
and
right. But
turning
it's
them
an
into
interesting,
people that you're having conversations with. And so
yeah,
there's a whole thought process behind it. And you don't get deals off Instagram just by posting pictures of houses or cool stuff like, the picture of Ranger up there. You have to be very, very interactive. And in fact, one of the things that we've learned is that when you are interactive with somebody, you tend to show up in their feed more and more often. I mean,
yes,
that should be obvious,
yeah.
but they have actually come out and said that. So it's one of those things that is worth repeating.
Well, and they just kind of changed it up so it was more that like last year, I think too. They really put more emphasis on that.
Yeah, and there's another change on the way too that they actually announced, and one of the things that I do is I subscribe to the Instagram channel, because
Mm-hmm.
if you do watch it, you will pick up on little clues of what they are working on as far as their algo and stuff.
Right.
And one of the things that they are testing right now, and I think it's Canada, Brazil, Australia, and a few other countries, is completely removing the ability to like posts.
Yes, I read that, and I think they tried it in France too. Interesting concept. We'll have to see how it affects the American culture.
What's interesting about that is that where they're starting to focus the, I guess, trying to figure out which posts are important and which ones that they should share, they're actually going to be looking more at the saved posts. So it's important that when
Ah,
you are doing stuff on Instagram, that you really push your users or your followers or
right.
whoever you're interacting with to save your post.
And
And
when they're
so,
looking at a post, they can click this little guy here. This is how they
yes,
bookmark it.
yes,
So if you guys are looking on your phones, on your Instagram accounts, you can click the heart as a user to favorite it, which is the like. You can
right,
respond. I think that's sharing it with someone. And
yes.
then this is how you can bookmark it. So if I wanted to come back to this, maybe I had a friend moving to Tucson, I could be like, hey, take a look at this and bookmark it and come back to it and send it to her later. Or I
That's
could send
exactly
it to her directly right here.
That's exactly it. And what we find is that whenever we do a nice house post, we'll usually get between 50 and 100 saves for that particular post. And we actually have our metrics are actually really, really, really good for our account. Out
Hmm.
of out of every well, typically right now, out of everybody that visits our bio, our click through to our website is about 25%. When we first started,
Wow.
it was only 7%.
Wow, that's a really good rate actually.
Yeah, and so where I was going with this a little bit earlier, where when I was mentioning that it wasn't just about putting up really cool pictures or stories or stuff, and what you want to do is get people to that bio because you've only got the chance for one link, right? And
Yep.
so once they click through to that, you've got to figure out how can I get them into my KV core? How can I get them into my conversion? And then you've got to have that system do the heavy lifting. And so really, that's a lot of the success that we've had with with our Instagram is because of our ability to drip on those folks through
Right.
conversion.
And I think what you could also do, because you have the bio with the link, you could also do a custom text code on an Instagram post.
Oh, I never thought of that, but yeah, really cool idea. I got something else to experiment with now.
Because now you could lead them down the pipeline on Instagram, like you'd send them a little ping to the next page, or, oh, I think this might interest you too.
Yeah,
And then you could also have them working on a smart campaign on the back end.
absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah, well, that's really good. I'm glad we had this call.
I mean, I'm here for you. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for joining me.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny.
Ah, and then I know you do meet a lot of people. So are the new contacts you're gaining from Instagram really more locally contacted or like out of state, or what is your focus?
That's a very, very interesting question. It depends on the Instagram account. The one that you're looking at there right now, um, well, the majority of our contacts inside of Instagram, as far as followers are,
Hmm.
they're local.
So the Tucson homes and real estate is more local.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what, everything's all. I mean, it's mostly local as far as the contacts.
Hmm.
But, and
Hmm.
it's a big but, is that the majority of the leads that come through
Yeah.
are from out of state.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Now, why do you think that is? Or how are you targeting it? Are you retargeting or what are you doing?
boy, there's a you've really got to know what your purpose is for your Instagram.
Hmm.
You've really got to know that, and you've got to really come up with a strategy, and then just figure out a way to convey that message, and people will find you. There's a lot of strategies as far as having conversations, interacting
Yeah.
with what I like to call goal accounts, which I think you need to identify very, very early on in your Instagram career.
What's your goal account?
That's your daddy. That's who you want to be like. But what happens too is as you start to get a lot of traction with your accounts, and And one of my accounts right now, I think I've got like 13, 14,000 followers, and they're
Hmm.
all real estate agents from all over the country.
Wow.
But what happens is once you start to get some traction with your accounts, is that it's easy to hook up with other people in your community that have large audiences as well. And
Yes.
you kind of share back and forth. You give them a shout out. I got a buddy here who a year ago when I met him, he had 20 something thousand followers, and right now he's up to about 48,000. And
Wow.
he just runs a Tucson uh, Instagram account that talks about food. That's all he's all.
So when you work with like your local networking folks, do you do like a thing like, hey, if you like this page and like this page, you'll be entered in for something or other? Or are you just saying, hey, check out my guy Paul, he's a great real estate agent if you ever need one in Tucson, or how is that working out?
You mean as far as doing it on inside of Instagram?
Yeah, yes, because you were talking about how like you and your friend may do like shout outs to each other on
Well, yeah.
Instagram
I
to
mean,
help build your
yeah.
community.
All you do is you just mention them,
Okay, that's nice.
just tag them to
So a
post.
nice mention.
Yeah. Just say, hey, my buddy Adam over here at the Tucson Foodie, hashtag Tucson Foodie.
That's cool.
Get
That's
out.
really cool.
Yeah. And because I mean, what if you really, boy, Lisa, we could talk for 12 hours about
I
this.
know. Oh, well, that wouldn't even be, that'd be a tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. So I mean, so there's a nice networking strategy there, and you know we maybe someday we will go into some great detail on that. But
Well,
you can reciprocate with people fairly easily, run contests and really help promote each other because you know when somebody is moving to a specific area, they
hmm.
want to know all those things. They want to know, okay, where are the places to eat? Where do I want to go hang out? What's the nightlife like? They want to know all that stuff. They want to know
They
everything.
do. And I think, when you're speaking to the networking, I know we'd spoken with Damian Hall a while back about Instagram and his networking with
Right.
his local folks because he actually barters with a concierge service.
Oh, interesting.
And he throws the people who buy or and I believe sell like a day of concierge service of whatever somebody
Yeah.
needs. Like if it's going to pick something up, help pack, help move. But that could also be something you could look at in exchange of service too, along with that shout out.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I mean, there's so many ways you can get business off of Instagram. It's I think we're right now at the very very beginning of being able to get a bunch of leads off this thing. I mean, it's still early in Instagram's life.
Well, it's a baby.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's no AOL.
yeah. There you go. We're talking about the 2400 baud modem there. Yeah,
That's right. 2400. Oh
yeah. I
boy.
mean, right now, I mean, even though it's been around for a while, I think it's still in the early adapter stage, especially for real estate.
Well, it's untapped and really undiscovered area.
Exactly. It's like, okay, so 5 to 10 years ago, if you were to ask real estate agents, okay, how many of you are on Facebook and how many of you are getting business off of Facebook? Not very many
Right.
would. Now
Right.
it's, I mean, it's just like
Everybody.
it's a bloodbath.
And
And
everybody in Arizona, especially.
oh yeah, absolutely. And so the same thing is going on right now with Instagram. There's nobody out there. And the
Yeah.
people that are doing it have, I mean, they're listening to gurus that are telling them stuff that really I think is wrong. I mean, not that it
Things
is,
that
but
like the thinking may have gone out in the 90s kind of thing.
no, I
Or
mean,
just a different way of thinking, just a different tact.
yeah, I mean, because the reality is you really have to understand who your target is. Number one, you don't just go up
Hmm.
and create your Instagram account and hope to find folks. You've got to well define your target before you even step foot on Instagram. And there's a big misconception right now that Instagram is just millennials. And the truth is, we've only done one transaction for a millennial off of
Hmm.
Instagram.
Isn't
Every
it
other
people
one,
44 and over?
yeah. I mean, mostly I would say mid 50s on up.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I mean,
I was gonna say
we just
it's
closed
like that tail end of Gen X and older.
yeah, we just closed a transaction for a couple that or just bought vacation home here in Tucson that live up in Seattle. And before that, it was, oh, that was our millennial. The one before that, he happened to be driving through Tucson.
Mm-hmm.
Thought, this is a pretty cool place. Maybe I should move here. Got on his Instagram, started looking around, found us. 3 months later, we sold him a $350,000 house.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
And what's interesting is I think there's still a misconception of people thinking millennials are like teenagers, which
right.
is interesting. And it's, but you have to like adjust your thinking because they're in their 30s, they're having kids. So these are
Well,
the people that you need to be talking about, your elementary schools who are going to be moving there.
yeah, and I always tell people, I'm really a 54-year-old millennial.
I am with you there, buddy. That's how I feel. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Um,
but
now I know, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, going back to the way that a lot of agents are using Instagram, that I
Hmm.
think they're not doing it right, is I see a lot of people kind of mixing and matching. They don't really know the definition of what the purpose of their particular Instagram account is
Right.
for. And so they're throwing stuff up, when they're skiing, they're fishing, they're hiking, then they're throwing properties and real estate tips and all that kind of stuff.
It's
And
confused.
yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to be just a personal account, yeah, that's fine. But if you're trying to get business off of it, you've got to
Hmm.
be, you've got to be, I call it high intent niche,
Yes.
and that's what you've got to be, and you've got to stick to it. And so if you look at what we're doing with one of our sites there, the one that you've got up there, is that
Right.
that is just nothing but fabulous homes.
Oh, and I
Now,
also
there's more
see,
to it
oh,
than
and here's your tag. Wait a minute. So we've got, oh, this is cool. So basically, if you've been tagged, you can
yeah,
see where you've been tagged by
yeah,
by other folks in the community.
yeah,
Oh, okay. I got you. All right.
yeah. See, people
And
tag me.
then I know these are really cool, the stories. I mean, I've seen some other realtors who have pages and they've like, featured their dog doing cute things, and that's kind of fun. They also do food tours and things, and also home tours, and there's so much you can do within these as well.
Yeah, and those are really cool. And we haven't really done a whole lot with those yet.
Yeah.
You can see that we've got one up there for the reviews, and then
Hmm.
that one, I think we were just kind of experimenting with how those actually work.
But it's
Oh,
cool
this,
though because you can do things like this that are interactive. What are my home's numbers, and drop information like this. It's amazing.
yeah, and you want to be interactive. That's the goal. That's the
As
goal.
long as you keep the eyes moving, they're engaged. If not,
Yep.
zone
So,
out.
so here's another user tip for you too,
Hmm.
is that if and yeah, somebody will be able to learn a little bit by just kind of looking at what we're doing, but that's just the front of the iceberg. There's a lot that
Right.
goes on the backside that you can't see. Um, but here's a little tip, is that it always used to be thought that just having a nice, easy, short little caption
Hmm.
is the way to go. But the
Oh.
reality is now is that boy, treat it like a microblog. You know, put some thought behind your captions, and what happens is that forces people to spend more time on the post. And
Oh, okay.
all of a sudden, this is like a little bonus tip right here. All of a
Right.
sudden, Instagram thinks that your post is more important than everybody else's because people are spending more time on it.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
yeah.
Well, thank you. Let's see here. And I know we kind of talked about places to put a call to action. And basically, that's your link in your bio, your custom text codes, perhaps. And then also within the stories, you can add interactive information.
Yes. Now, and once you get 10,000 followers, you can have the little swipe up too, that you
The
can,
swipe ups are so neat.
yeah.
All
And
right.
so
And
I think
then
right now we've got about 7,000 on our Tucson account, so we're not quite
ooh,
there yet, but
you're
there is a work.
close. Wow.
And so what happens too is I know that your listeners are going to be interested in, okay, so how do these actually become leads, right?
Right. So like the ramping up the expectation, how does it work?
So what happens is a couple of different things happen is obviously you put your email in your bio, they'll just email you.
Oh, okay.
How's
Cool.
that for a simple answer? A
Yeah.
lot of them will email you, some will DM you, but the majority they'll email you.
So yeah, make sure you check your direct messages. So when you started out, I mean, you really don't need any special equipment or skills other than just an interest and a consistency of posting content,
Yes,
interesting content.
yes. And I mean, it's got to be stuff that you can get interactive with people.
Hmm.
And really, you've got to be consistent. One thing that I do see people do, and I've been guilty of it too, is especially on the listing agent's account, is you'll post twice a day for 3 or 4 weeks, and then all of a sudden you disappear for a week.
Right.
You can't come back and post twice a day after that. You got to kind of slowly get back
Build up
into it.
again. Yep,
Yeah, at least that's what I've experienced.
I agree. Let's see here. And oh, here's a good one. If you had one feature request to add to Conversion Plus, I need to change that out real quick. What would make your life easier?
Boy, I've thought about that a lot, and I've had some great ideas,
Hmm.
and none of them are in my head right now.
Oh, so nothing. All at Walt, no, nothing.
No,
Nothing at all.
no.
Wait,
What
oh, okay.
I think that the ability to really customize more of the homepage would be a really big deal.
Okay, and in where, what area do you think? Like a different,
Oh, no,
maybe.
no. Even more important than that, I think being
Hmm.
able to add custom pages and custom menu items, that's a big deal.
Oh, so more, so like when we're looking at this, more of these types of items with the,
Yes. But yeah,
okay.
that I could customize more on my own so
Hmm.
that they could link out to, one of my Kartra pages or something.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So
And when,
if I think of something else, I'll message you real quick.
yeah, oh, I know, that's
But
fine.
I never think about it when I'm not in there. But when I'm in there and I'm playing around, it's like, damn, I wish it did this.
Well, when I was a user, I was pinging support for probably 4 or 5 times a day. Like, what about this? What about that? What about this? And I
Yeah.
could just know they were probably like, yeah, stop. Now here I am doing the same thing internally.
Well, actually, you know what? The one that I was really, really wanting for the longest time was the
Hmm.
ability to put pixels on or to put a conversion event for the Facebook pixel on the pages after somebody registers, because then that way we can target those people who have registered. But Facebook actually took care of
Oh,
that for us by using the little automated build your custom conversion tool, which is
yes,
really cool.
super handy.
Yeah.
And when you think back on your career, what was really the best piece of advice that's like carried with you?
Can I throw out a name?
Of course you can.
So I would say maybe 10 years ago, I hired a business coach named Tim Davis out of Nashville, Tennessee. Great guy. And I think he works at Movement Mortgage out there right now still too. I think he's one of their development coaches or success coaches.
Hmm.
And one of the things that he told me was that, because I was new to this market, heck, I must have been like 14 years ago. I was new to this market and trying to break in and build business. And he says, Paul, instead of just trying to talk to one person at a time, why don't you try to talk to 100 or 200? And then he kind of told me a story about Jesus doing that kind of thing. And
Right.
so that really kind of hit it with me. And
Hmm.
I was started to think, okay, so instead of trying to talk to 100 people, why don't I try to
Right.
talk to 10,000?
Took it up like by 10.
Yeah. And so that's where I thought, okay, we've got to really open ourselves up, not just to paid advertising, but to the Webernets and all the different social media platforms out there, and just speak to the largest audience possible
Right. That's
and make
awesome.
but yeah, not just the largest audience, but the largest targeted audience possible. Because of course, you don't
Yes.
want to just go talk to 10,000 random folks. You want to make sure that those 10,000 folks that you're talking to have the interest to be in your potential audience.
And that's really key and that's why when you were speaking to identifying, who is your group? How are you going to thoughtfully consider how you're defining these targets? And
Yeah,
that's where this consideration, really speaks to who am I going to speak with and how am I going to grow this niche or target?
exactly. I mean, in the marketing world, in the advertising world, they call that creating your avatar. And so I don't really like the word avatar in that sense. So,
Hmm.
we just kind of wanted to find, okay, who is it that our target audience is? Because really, we're not going after one particular person. We're, we have a particular target. So for us with our Instagram, our target audience is
Hmm.
the out-of-state buyer who's got money.
Right. That's not a bad target. It's not a
No,
bad target.
and they're out there,
Yes, they are. Well, that's
especially
awesome.
especially in Illinois and Wisconsin and all those cold states.
Yes. Well, and that's what I find interesting. You've got your states that travel more on the East Coast to Arizona, and I know a lot of people in California travel up to Anchorage, and a lot of Californians come up here. It's really interesting to think how people spend their springs and winters
Oh,
like that.
absolutely.
Well, this has been gr really helpful, and I appreciate everyone tuning in. If you're looking for similar things to record video, we do have some tools to utilize: a screencast-o-matic, screenshot, a little drawing tool for if you're going to use it on Instagram, it might come in handy. We'll have Paul's interview available for you to access anytime. And Paul, I just wanted to really appreciate you taking the time to be here today. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me. This is pretty amazing, pretty awesome.